Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm Will Dragon, and this is Suzerain, where we are the president of Swordland, and we are trying to bring the country back out of depression, recession, and everything else, and potential borderline civil war, and get it back on its feet. Our growth is not as bad as it used to be. I don't know if we actually got a full level bar, or whether I fact that I saw it not being a huge downward red bar, and I got really excited. I'm not 100% sure, but we're doing okay. Our budget, on the other hand, is terrible. And we had to make our first bad decisions last episode. I had to tell somebody no. And then I also had to go and potentially crush our small and medium business enterprises. Which, yeah. Didn't like doing that, I can tell you that much. So we now are going to jump into a briefing on the proposal of education reform. Let's have a quick listen. We are still in Lyran, staying at a modest guest house for state employees. Ciara set up a meeting with me and Lucian to go over her plans for education reform after our school visit. Lucian was seated across from me at the table, going through documents. Ciara entered the room. After the visit yesterday, I couldn't even sleep thinking about that little boy and girl. I have never been more sure of my intentions to reform our education system. Lucian took off his reading glasses and put it on the table. I agree. Exactly. Those students have to repeat the same solace propaganda every single day. They are being brainwashed at an age when their minds need to be free. On top of that, young girls are denied the same opportunity as boys. They're forced into the role of housewife before they even reach puberty. Nothing's changed since I went to school. Women like me, Lilius, Nia, even your wife. We had to study twice as hard to receive the same university education that you and Lucian took for granted. Is that the kind of country you want your daughter to grow up in? Mr. President, we need to bring change. We need to free the minds of these young people. They are our future. Very well, what do we need for an education reform? We need to keep politics out of the curriculum. Sol should only be viewed as a historical figure. Children shouldn't have to repeat his name every day. This is actively poisoning young bright minds. Instead of thinking for themselves, they're learning to take things at face value. We also need to ensure that boys and girls receive the same instruction. Handicrafts like knitting and sewing should be taught to both sexes or not at all. Swordland's youth must be technically skilled and capable for the next decade. That won't be possible with the amount of nationalistic indoctrination, the narrow-minded thinking found in schools today. Either we raise a generation ready for the challenges of the future or not. What will it be, Mr. President? Lucian, what do you think? As much as I respect Colonel Sol, his time has passed. Now is our time. I do think this might be the first step of a larger plan. Reform the education system. You will not regret it. I will get to work immediately. Now that the decision was made, let's move on. Ciara skimmed over her documents before continuing. After the budget increased, the ministry quickly began formulating plans on how to effectively use the money. But before moving forward, the question of keeping education fully state-funded or allowing for new private schools remains open. Tell us about the benefits of allowing private schools. I've made my opinion clear, I'm against it, but it would give us additional funds for education while increasing competition. It would support our overall economic strategy of promoting a market economy. We have enough money to improve education at Swordland. We do not need to complicate things further with a privatization incentive. So what is your decision? Keep education solely a matter of the state. Will do. That should be it for now. I will get to work and report back later. This has been a very productive day. I will be returning to Holsword. Thank you for your time. We dispersed after spending nearly the entire day together. I took a moment simply to breathe the fresh air, evening air of Lyran. I felt calmer here, somehow. But I would have to return to the chaos of Holsword soon enough. So there you go. We are going to reform our education system. Equality for all. Come over here. There's an education reform going on and situations. Modernized education techniques. So I'm basically hoping... So although I know I've gone and smashed the government budget, I'm basically hoping that as long as I can survive... I don't know if you get to play a second term. I can only assume so. Whether the winning goal of the game is simply to get re-elected. But, yeah, so I'm hoping the second term then is much more positive because of all the changes we're making. Ministry of Education, Tiara Walder, is reporting that she has begun working on the approved education reform. The details of the education reform will be finalized over the upcoming months. Contanan Security Pact. In a significant technological milestone, United Contana has successfully launched a second satellite capable of facilitating radio communications. This development catapults United Contana to the forefront of space-based communication technology, enabling radio signals to be transmitted via satellite for the first time. No other nation currently possesses this advanced capability, marking a significant achievement for United Contana. Right, that's my goal, ladies and gentlemen. By the time we leave this, I want Swordland to have sent a satellite to space. You heard it here first. I don't know if that's even possible. A regional rural development proposal to improve agriculture. I hope this isn't going to try and cost us money. Oh, dear lord, it is. The Goonie Rural Development Investment is a proposal by Rural Development Minister Gus Manga to bolster Swordland's rural economies and secure the nation's food sustainability. The plan envisages a judicious allocation of resources to vitalize agricultural communities, fortify food security, and elevate the regional economy of Goonie. One potential strategy is the provision of subsidies for new farms, encouraging more players into the agricultural field. Alternatively, Manga proposes an investment in the mechanization of existing farms to improve productivity or the initiation of crop research to foster innovation. Okay, I'm gonna do one. I know we have no budget. I'm aware of that. And it is gonna come back to massively bite me. But I'm not gonna give them subsidies. But do I want to mechanize existing farms or initiate new crop research? I'm going to mechanize. Let's bring our farming industry into the current decade. I can't quite say 21st century because we're not in that time frame. Mechanization, the key to agrarian progress. In a bold move, the government has opted to invest in the mechanization of existing farms as part of the Goonie Rural Development Investment Plan. This initiative aims to boost productivity and could help secure our food supplies. Greater Wholesword free of protests. This week, a decisive intervention by government forces and the police brought a conclusive end to the paralyzing protests in the Greater Wholesword region. These actions, albeit necessary, left a tragic trail of casualties and had a profound impact on the economy. That's not good. A protest leader from Conriat voiced the sentiments of many when he said, "We want peace for our brothers and sisters in Swordland. We don't want more repression." This heartfelt plea underscores the widening chasm between the authorities and the populace. Gassam stagnates amid market challenges. Gassam finds itself in a state of stagnation, unable to grow or downsize due to a combination of internal and external factors. That's bad. We need to get a good return from them. Oh, I don't think that was quite red. I think that was more of a brown color. Kibera, Rain is making a mistake. The head of Swordland's second opposition party has said President Rain will not be able to keep ruling the country without addressing policies that have negatively affected our security, culture, and economy. He blamed President Rain for not being open to any discussion about proper reforms. For supporting President Rain, NFP cannot be part of this nonsensical collaboration anymore, as it has been transformed into an anti-nationalist committee. Okay. Presidential generosity. President Anton Rain's recent personal donation to Alfonso Foundation has elicited a mixed response from the public. While supporters laud the move as an endorsement of the foundation's effort to tackle homelessness and income inequality, critics question the president's motivations. Detractors have pointed out the links between Alfonso Foundation and the former president Elwald Alfonso, suggesting that the donation may be politically motivated. No, I just liked what it stood for. Demonstrators arrested. Tens of thousands of demonstrators were driven out from the city centres by riot police in the week. Charity or camouflage? President's donation scrutinised. With a thread of socio-economic discrepancies strewn over his tenure, former President Alfonso might think that the establishment of the Alfonso Foundation is sufficient to absolve him of past transgressions. My small contribution to the foundation is nothing short of a misdirected resource allocation, acting as a smoke screen for a glaring income inequality brought about by the economic liberalization policies of Alfonsonomics. Yes, but I'm also trying to sort that out. So I feel doing something in the meantime helps. And I'm arguing with made-up news in a game, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's come to. Gloria Tori's office, Grand National Assembly of Swordland, meeting with Gloria Tori on planned reforms. I think I remember which one this was. I arrived at the Grand National Assembly, which was only a 5-minute drive away from the palace. Today, I had a private meeting with Gloria Tori, one of the leading figures of the USP. Yes, I thought so. To get her approval for the proposal was also a key in reaching 150 signatures to propose the new constitution, as she had extensive control over our party's conservative and moderate wings. As I walked through the corridors of the Grand National Assembly, I was confronted by my memories of the historic building. Despite being a member of the Assembly not long ago, it now felt like the distant past. I walked into the left wing of the Assembly, which currently acted as the quarters of the USP. Gloria's office was the first one inside. I knocked on the door and entered. How do I know this woman? I'm going to say good morning, Mrs. Tori. Good to see you here, Mr. Rain. It was a small, neatly organized office. There were small figurines, photos, plants around the office. It had a homey feel, unlike my own assembly office when I had worked there. On her gesture, I took a seat. The chair was very uncomfortable. I love what you did with the office. She smiled. A woman's touch, they call it, like men cannot have a sense of tidiness or style. Which might actually be true. Anyway, let's keep this simple, Mr. Rain. We both know why you are here. You want me to give you my support. I don't see why the backbone of the USP would support your rushed reforms. Don't you realize they go directly against the wishes of the founder of this party and the state? It's all in the name of democracy. I need you to help me here. My reforms are very critical for the future of Swordland, Mrs. Tori. It's all in the name of democracy. In the name of democracy, I knew she was going to question that. Even though you're everything to Colonel Sol, I think you never liked him nor the party he built. There's nothing personal about this, Mrs. Tori. Whatever you intend to do, you will be facing quite the opposition. That's all I can say. Let me explain. How? We need these reforms to fix our problems with the unrestricted power of the Supreme Court. People of Swordland demanded change. Hang on, let's have a quick read about her. Eminent current Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Swordland since 1949. She has been a member of the Assembly since 1937. Graduated from Hull State University, Gloria was elected as the president of the student organization, Republican Youth. She supported the Democratic Revolutionaries and was credited for organizing several major student rallies during the last years of the Swordish monarchy. Before her election to the Assembly, she worked at several jobs, including a lobbying firm and a school of public speaking and debating. In 1929, she became a member of the USN Committee from Valsord. That's not what I was expecting. Rose quickly in the USP after she was elected to the Grand National Assembly in 1937. She was appointed as a special advisor to the Minister of the Interior in 1938 before being brought as the front bench spokeswoman for Home Affairs in 1942 and the spokeswoman for Education in 1944. In 1949, she was elected as the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly in protest against President Edward Alfonso's reformist agenda. She is the first woman in Swordland to hold that position. She was a strong critic of Edward Alfonso's presidency, and she became famed for her obstructions in the assembly of some of his policies. Regarded as a charismatic politician and a tough negotiator, she is credited for major lobbying incidents within the USP, which shifted the political landscape during the last decade. After the 1953 elections, she was elected Speaker for a second time. Okay. We need these reforms to fix our problems with the unrestricted power of the Supreme Court. And she is very much for the USP. Supreme Court is already doing what it can to preserve Sol's values. There is no problem here except the ones you are creating with Mr. Richter. I seriously do not know if the Conservatives would be willing to support you at all, especially when you're trying to decrease the electoral threshold. You must know this will mean bringing the Communists into the Assembly. You probably have a deal with either them or maybe the PFJP. Friends seem to be positive about giving you support too. I have no deal with anyone. I don't know how your acts can even be justified inside the USP. I do not support an election threshold of 8%. This sets a dangerous situation for us, as both the WPB and CPS will gain more power. I'd rather leave the threshold as it is. Will that ensure your support? I don't know what to say before seeing a commitment from you, Mr. Rain. The same goes for me. I don't know if I can promise anything before I see action from you, especially with all these issues you're creating for the party. You should at least remove the changes to the Member of Honor laws, or there will be no further discussion. You can't just target our founder and expect our support. If this point is not removed, expect a grand opposition. I'm not removing that. Why are you against all this, Mrs. Tory? I'm trying my best to work with you, Mr. President, yet you're not listening to your own party members. So you're not removing the clause from the proposal. Vote impeachment of the president. Appointment of ministers. Election threshold. I'd rather would get rid of the Member of Honor. What if I remove the change to the threshold instead? Good, now we can start talking. I must say that I expect some sort of a reform regarding the appointment of ministers. I'm surprised that you're ignoring the large support behind that, but moving on. She took a look at the proposal. You know what? I believe I can give you the help you require. Just don't forget, Mr. President, the Conservatives will be expecting a lot from you. I'm expecting a lot from Conservatives as well. I can get you the signatures needed for the proposal. I'll talk to the Conservatives. I hope there won't be any surprises, though, Mr. President. Glad to hear that, Mrs. Tory. I just hope you won't continue Alfonso's destruction of the country with your economic policies. Of course, I can't guarantee that all the Conservatives of the party will vote for your constitutional changes. I have a serious reservations about privatizing healthcare or the Swedish state corporation. The support of my faction can change. That will depend to some extent on your policies, but the signatures at least are as good as gathered. Thank you. He smiled and nodded. Before we finish, there is one thing I need to say. I'm concerned about the oligarchs and the state of our economy. Who controls who? Those strategic acquisitions state assets during periods of privatization have amassed significant wealth. I'm worried they may influence you for their own benefit. We expect you to succeed where Alfonso failed in resisting their siren call. If you start privatizing healthcare or state-owned corporations, I doubt I can help you. I am not Alfonso. Yes, different names, I guess. Ooh! I believe I've made myself clear. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. President. I hope you'll hold your promises. She extended a hand for me to me for a handshake. Once I shook her hand, she immediately sat back down. But now I need to get back to my duties. If you'll excuse me, Mr. President. Bye, Mrs. Tory, and thank you. Jonah responded with a nod as I left her office. The Conservative side was handled, but to get to the 150 signatures I needed, I would still need to deal with Albin Clavin and the Reformist wing. I went outside. Serge drove me back to the palace, where I met Lucian and told him about the progress I'd made with Gloria. Okay, one news story this time. Oh, Swordland today, they love me. BFF warns Welland, Swordland, and Lesbia. In a startling announcement, the spokesperson of the Bluedish Freedom Front have released a statement condemning the governments of Swordland, Lesbia, and Welland for their mistreatment of Bluedish citizens. The statement warns of potential action against these governments if they continue to ignore the will of the Bluedish people. Yeah. And okay, nothing else going on. In Hullsword, Lucian offers to play chess. Lucian extends an invitation for a strategic game of chess within the solemn quiet of the presidential office. I'm going to go and relax at home with the family, because family is key. Meeting with Albin Clavin on planned reforms. No news, no other important things. After our meeting with Gloria Tory and a further discussion with the party and my cabinet, it was time to talk to Albin Clavin to get the reformist wing to support the proposal. I also plan to finally present a more fleshed out proposal and declare our agendas of the party after our meeting. I walked into the left wing of the assembly and entered the quarters of the USP. When I reached the meeting hall, I saw many of our members conversing inside. After taking a glimpse inside, I went back into the corridor to look for the office of Albin Clavin, which was around the back of the place. When I reached his room, I knocked on his door and entered. Mr. President, welcome. The whole room was surrounded by bookshelves packed with files and papers. It was a small office with books and dossiers lying on every corner. It felt claustrophobic. On his gesture, I took a seat. How is everything going, Mr. Clavin? It's been busy. The party has been working very hard, Mr. President. Thank you for asking. How is it going for you in the palace? It's pretty tough. I can't imagine the work you're dealing with up there. I wanted to express my gratitude for passing the Workers' Rights Act. It is one of my most comprehensive and successful political efforts. The right thing to do because our workers were suffering for decades. Indeed, the people will credit your administration and the party for a positive change in their lives. The businesses will share the burden with the state, but it is a change they have to abide by. I have to say, the close collaboration between the palace and the party is going well. Looking forward to what we can accomplish with the reforms. Albin smiled and knocked on wood. Anyway, sir, let's talk about the proposal. Thanks for coming here for my input because there are some subjects where Gloria and I don't see eye to eye. I have to say that most of the progressives were already starting to warm up to you. Your attempt at changing the constitution created quite a bit of excitement. One could dare to say that an excitement that hasn't been felt since the 30s. Yet there are some issues with the current status of the draft proposal, so we may need to contain our excitement a little longer. I suspect that Mrs. Tory had a lot of influence on this proposal, but I cannot support this in its current state. I thought you were a Democrat. I am. And your abolishment of the honorary membership indicates that you are a Democrat too. But the extent of your democratic beliefs matter. Let's hear your problems. We have specifically asked for a change in appointment of ministers. This is what the party was expecting. Yet I see that our suggestions were completely ignored. That's not a priority for us. Who's us? Isn't the party included in that now? I don't know what I can do for you. Even if I gave you my support, the party will not like this. Leave the rest of the party to me. I am now asking for your support. Your proposal will be crushed like this anyway. I'd rather have something tangible to support. It seems you have interesting dreams, but dreams nonetheless. I would have understood your stance if this was the only issue. There are more. Reformists were not expecting a reform about the term limits. Why is that not included in the proposal? Oh, they were expecting a reform. It's only my first term, it's too soon to bring term limits. So you also want to use the flaws of the system for your own benefit. Could you tell me, what is your priority with this proposal? bringing down the Constitution of Sol. Fair enough, and there is more. I thought there would be some reform about the extensive decree powers. Can't give away everything. You should at least do something about term limits. That's a no. That's a shame. He looked down at the proposal, took a deep breath and let out a long sigh. But unfortunately, Mr. President, this is not enough. Either we change more, or perhaps there is something else you could offer me. Excuse me? I wish I could record some of my meetings sometimes. Damn, I'd have all of these people thrown out so fast. Something else you could offer me. Uh-huh. Nominate ministers. I will limit presidential decrees with the requirement for enabling act now. Fine with the current draft. Meeting is over. However you see fit, Mr. President, I hope I didn't offend you in some way. I'm sorry to say, there's nothing I can do for you. Good luck with uniting the party under your reforms, but I guess you will be uniting the party against you like this. Which is an achievement too, I guess. Anyway, I need to get back to work. I'll be expecting the reformist support. We'll see, Mr. President. I left his room and went back into the corridor. See, it's kind of annoying because I feel like I've passed so many things to make the reformists happy. And I also feel like no matter what I did for this current proposal, that they would have everybody would have simply demanded a little bit more. I feel like I should have made the worst proposal possible so I could just give them a bone. I went to the restaurant of the assembly to get something to eat while conversing with other members of our party. I saw Albin talking to his people in the distance. After a while, the preparations for the conference began, and I went back into the conference hall, prepared my notes for the speech I was going to make. It took time to get all of the present members of the party inside the hall. Gloria Tori announced me from the stand. I walked up to the stand as everybody in the room started clapping. Brothers and sisters of United Swordland, I came here today to announce the agenda for the future of our country. People of Swordland have spoken. They blame our institutions and our systems and want change. Can you blame the people? Haven't we had enough with the flaws of our constitution? We must listen to their wishes and get their trust in Swordland back. I paused as they started clapping and continued. Talk about whether the USP needs this to survive the next elections. Brought attention to the people's protests and the slight decrease in the popularity of the USP. I explained how our proposal will only be beneficial for everybody. The moderates started clapping. Later, I explained the contents of the new constitution and asked for their full support for the proposal. Ask for their votes. I asked for each and every member's vote to make a change together. The conservatives on the right side of the hall where Gloria sat stood up and started clapping loudly after I saw Gloria making a gesture with her hands. I saluted everybody in the room one last time and bid them farewell before leaving the stand. I walked outside the assembly and back into the palace. So I wonder how that's gone and done. So we need 150 votes, I believe, if we come to, no, not overview. Now, so my party makes up about 125. If I just simply go for a straight cut down the middle. 130, it says by here. I don't know why I'm trying to estimate this. So if I've just gotten 2/3 of them, that's about 90. If a good part of the PFJP support me, you know, that could put me up into about the 130, 140. Then I just need a smattering of these guys, and I might be able to make it. Excuse me. And today, President Rain has met with his party members in a party meeting in the Grand National Assembly of Swordland, where the current situation of the country and future plans of the party were likely discussed. Used the meeting to give a speech to the party and announce the contents of the first draft of the new constitution. The details of the meeting were not made public, nor what the draft contained. No, because my secretary hasn't seen it. We all know she's the one spying for everybody. And okay, we're on a hit continue. Let's see what happens next. Let's see if my growth becomes potentially politics. Balance of power in the Eastern Makopa. What's going on? I don't like it. Okay, the economy looks the same. Benfi. The bustling city of Benfi is facing infrastructural challenges as its airport and port facilities are at full capacity due to high volumes of logistics and tourist travel. The situation is raising concerns over the ability to sustain the growing demand without causing delays and disruptions. Infrastructure expansion and modernization are being considered to resolve the issue. While, unfortunately, at this stage, we might end up having to say no. Now, we have some news. Oh, wow, it's been blanked. Crazy. Archaic state of Swordland's conscription laws. Dear reader, I ask you this. What year are we in? 1880s? 1920s? The matter I'm writing about is this. Is, of course, mandatory military service again. In times when there are no active wars, why do we still need to have these archaic conscription laws? Let me answer that. It is because someone profits from it. Not only does it make the warmongering solists happy, it also works out for large defense corporations. The oligarchs are now swimming in money while we still have to send our children away when they come of age. Rain to meet with Smollett and Van Horten. Swordland is embarking on a great geopolitical gamble with the new trade initiative organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The hope is the solidification of relations with the old ally Agnola and the troublesome neighbor Welland, with the aim of regaining some of the regional diplomatic influence the country used to have. Okay, so it looks like that's going to be this turn. Ooh. The Ministry of Health has begun work on a health report with a proposal to allow privatization in the health system to potentially generate new resources for the ministry. Superpowers offer aid. United Contana and Acacia are offering aid in return for military access. Not gonna happen, so let's do this very quickly. Reject offers. I am not becoming their pawn in their attempt to put ICBMs in a country so they can shoot at each other. They can get out of here. The RHB bill has been passed by the GNA. In an endeavor to promote religious harmony and unity, the Grand National Assembly introduces the Religious Harmony Bill, establishing regulations for religious affairs across Swordland. Section 1 of the RHB mandates that all sermons conducted during the Day of Dissension ceremony at the Arch Sanctuary of Deir will henceforth be held in the Swordish language. This move is aimed at promoting inclusivity and common understanding among worshippers. Section 2 of the RHB regulates the language of sermons in other sanctuaries across Swordland. It prohibits the use of Bluedish for sermons unless explicitly approval has been obtained from Archpriest of Swordland. This measure ensures consistency and unity in religious practices across the country. Section 3 sets forth new regulations for priests seeking state-sanctioned positions. It requires that all applicants must have Swordish lineage to be eligible for their salaries and pensions. This criterion ensures a deeper connection with Swordland's cultural heritage among the religious leaders of the country. Yeah, but I feel like we're basically... like, I don't know. Part of me thinks it's a good idea because, you know, obviously if everybody can get involved and everything's in Swordish, that's great. I also feel like we're putting Bluedish on a pedestal and smashing it with a sledgehammer. I mean, not only are we telling them they cannot worship in their own language, we're telling them that in an extreme circumstance they can do it if they get permission from the Archpriest, and any priest seeking state-sanctioned positions have to have Swordish lineage. I feel we are basically taking anything Bluedish and hitting it with a sledgehammer. So I am going to veto this, quite frankly. I could be wrong. Has recently vetoed the outrageous Religious Harmony Bill. The bill was aiming to limit the freedoms of Bluedish people in Swordland. Thank you. The MP to propose the bill was, of course, Kisaru Kibana, the leader of the NFP himself. Mr. Kibana has never stopped his attacks on Bluedish people, and we are sure that he will continue his racist onslaught and his attempts to further divide the country. Thank you. Hopefully the Bluedish people will see what I'm trying to do. And... they will stop their crazy, crazy protests and the attempt to, quite frankly, destroy the country. We do have logistical issues, which should hopefully be sorted out soon. There are no protests. There are no protests here as well anymore. Now, I believe my worst ever area was Narbel, and it's still a terrible area. So there is that. A call from Gus Manga, officer of the president of Swordland Maroon Paris. I was sipping my first cup of coffee for the day when the phone lit up and rang. I swore under my breath. I thought my schedule was clear for at least half an hour. Mr. President, how are you doing on this fine day, if I may ask? Fine as well. You? I'm good, because business in Swordland is running as usual from my end. Thanks for asking. I'm calling you because I received a call from the CEO of Armadine Industries, Aaron Bridges, about the recent initial public offering on the Ventry City Stock Exchange. As you might have guessed, it's about our significant venture investment of 2,000 shares worth nearly 2 million Ren. I'm very pleased to say that we have made gains. The shares have doubled in price at the IPO in the VCSE, and we will soon receive the profits made from the investment. Isn't that great? Yes, it's great. Go on. You will love it. In total, we have made nearly 3 million Swordish Ren. It was risky, yes, but look at where we are now. All thanks to you. Let's butter him up. Well, I will take that. Thank you. I assure you this will pale in comparison to what we will do together in the future. The money will be transferred to your personal bank account shortly. Keep me up to date on other opportunities. We'll let you know immediately when new opportunities arise. Oh, I almost forgot. The management sent you one of their brand new radios as a gift. Miss Suno will bring it to you. Goodbye for now. Accepting gifts. Collection item. Oh, you just get collection items. Interesting. There's a sword. There's a goat statue? Anyway. Yep, return. We have one piece of news in The Economist. The CEO of Armadine, Aaron Bridges, announced the IPO this morning at the Ventry City Stock Exchange, with the opening value of the stocks doubling due to high demand by the market. Images of celebration were visible at the Ventry Times newspaper. New era for portable radios has begun for the average citizen, with major advances in military technology pushing civilian technology forward. There you go, we've now got a personal wealth of 4. Our country's wealth sucks, but there is some wealth. Private party of the Gentleman's Club. Okay. The historical tourism place. Far from becoming accustomed to my workload as president, I only felt more and more snowed under as the weeks passed. It had been ages since I had had any time to myself. I was starting to lose my focus and my temper was growing increasingly thin. Peter was the first to realize I needed a break. After much cajoling, he finally persuaded me to come to a meeting of his new venture, Gentleman's Club. For the past few months, he'd been hosting a salon of sorts, not just for politicians and businessmen, but also for artists, entertainers, people of taste, he told me with a smile on his face. There was only one rule: no wives or girlfriends allowed, hence the name. And so I found myself in front of his new luxury villa in Erleroy. Very loud jazz music emanated from inside. I waited and waited. Finally, Peter opened the door. I could smell the whiskey on his breath. Anton, finally, now the real party can start. Come on in. As soon as I entered, Peter closed the door and turned to the small crowd. Gentlemen, a minute of your time, please. I now have the privilege to present to you the man himself, the 4th president of Swordland, Mr. Anton Rain. I'd known him for long enough to understand that he was more than a little drunk. He made an elaborate mock curtsy as I passed him and walked into the room. The music stopped, and I found everyone's eyes on me. No, I'm saving those for your funeral. Peter laughed very hard at his own grim joke before continuing. Dear members, please give a very warm welcome to our very special guest. If I may, Anton, here, take this. He handed me a glass of whiskey and put his hand on my shoulder. We all know why we're gathered here tonight: to celebrate life, to have a brief escape from our tumultuous professions. I personally don't think any better cure for stress than a little drink. Only a little one. A few people in the crowd chuckled and some raised their glasses. Now, the tradition dictates that as the club president, I have to remind you of our house rules. There are 3. No politics, no wives, no one's sober. Cheers. Peter drank the whiskey in his glass in one go. Sip your whiskey. Anton Rain might have the power to make presidential decrees, but I, P.10, the president of this club, now declare this party started. Music, go. The band started up again. After greeting the crowd around me, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Let me show you around. We walked through the corridors of his mansion. Statues and paintings lined the stark white walls, as arched windows provided a view of the neatly manicured grounds, complete with a swimming pool. A grand lesbian marble staircase led up to the second story. Peter gestured at the massive crystal chandelier hanging overhead. That chandelier was made in the 18th century. Can you believe it? There's even a hedge maze in the garden. How are you paying for all of this? I'll let you in on a secret. Gus Manga has a lot of contacts in real estate. He brokered an amazing price for me. He'll also be here tonight, by the way. What did you promise him in return? Only my money. We continued walking until we circled back to where we had started. So, what do you think of my little hideaway? More like a palace. Definitely doesn't rival yours. Anyway, let's get back to the party. I arranged for some caviar to be brought in from Lesbia. You're going to love it. He opened the door to the main hall and we rejoined the other guests. The music was louder now and the mood decidedly more inebriated. Cocktail waitresses were carrying around plates of canapes, wearing dresses that left little to the imagination. Thought, this is what you've been hiding from Evelyn. I thought this was a gentleman's club. Would you rather get served by wrinkly old men? Sweetheart, over here. We waited for the waitresses and she came over to us. She was in her mid-20s, wearing red lipstick, her blonde hair neatly tied into a ponytail. On her plate were toast points slathered in lesbian caviar Peter had mentioned. I took a bite. It was rich, salty, tasting of pure seaside. I could almost hear the sound of waves and seagulls. At which point can I slap this man? I'm telling you, Anton, there are a few pleasures in life that are this. As the waitress left us to serve another attendee, she flashed a quick smile at Peter over her shoulder. He smiled back a little too broadly. Sensual. His eyes were still fixed on her, with an expression I remembered from our many nights out together as students. Oh look, there's Gust. Why don't you go talk to him? I'll be back in a minute. Peter, I'm warning you, don't make a mistake. What are you talking about? I'm just going to the washroom. See you shortly. Gus Manga was standing next to a couple of men that I recognized as banking industry magnates. As I approached, all of them turned to me and bowed their heads. Mr. President, a toast to our new member, everyone. Gus and I clinked our glasses as the people around us raised theirs. You don't seem at all surprised to see me here. That's because Peter told me you were going to come. He also told me that you might be interested in potential opportunities such as, well, this. He opened his arms, gesturing at our opulent surroundings. Let's take a walk. The balcony has an amazing view of Earleroy. We left the room and made our way to the balcony. On the way, he took out 2 cigars and held one out for me. I'm gonna refuse. We went out to the balcony. All of Earleroy was at our feet. From this vantage point, I was able to see how expansive the building plot was. The swimming pool and the hedge maze were visible from here. Leaning over the railing, I admired the view for a moment before Gus spoke up. I know you're wondering about the deal Peter made. In a nutshell, thanks to my network, he was able to produce his house for half the asking price. Procure, which would have been impossible under any other circumstances. I would be delighted to discuss a similar arrangement with you. In fact, I have prepared a document with my own personal favorite opportunities. Your willingness to invest in Gassam showed you were a man after my own heart. I'd love to talk about how my network can benefit you personally. I'm not looking to make any investments at the moment. Real estate is the best investment anyone can make. With the current economic situation, it only makes sense to put your money into such a tangible asset. But I also have a few other opportunities for you to make a side profit if real estate doesn't interest you. Is there any chance I can convince you? No, that's my final answer. Very well, I want to push further. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to refresh my drink. See you around. He left to rejoin the party. Alone on the balcony, I looked out over Earleroy. Suddenly, I heard a rustling from the hedge maze below. I looked down and saw a silhouette. 2 silhouettes, actually. So close together they seemed to be entangled. I squinted and tried to get a better look. There's definitely 2 people kissing, but I couldn't see either of their faces. I returned to the party and spent some time mingling with the other guests, engaging them in small talk about their businesses, their children, their relationships. I realized it had been a while since Peter left. I looked around but couldn't find him. Instead, my eyes landed on old Alfonso. With a smile, the former president walked over to meet me. I didn't know you were a member of Peter's club. I should have gone for the second one. I don't know why I didn't. I'm not. Gus and I were having a business dinner and he convinced me to come along afterwards. I saw you speaking to Mr. Manga earlier. He and I won't be going into business. Interesting. I would have thought you'd be interested in other opportunities after invested in Gassam. We're seeing growing interest from international investors, by the way. I'm optimistic about the results of Sordland's investment. I'm looking forward to and vice versa. Just then, Peter came up from behind us and threw an arm around each of our shoulders. Look at you two, Sordland's bright future and its ancient past. Where were you? I told you, the washroom. Trust me, you'd rather not know the details. Well, Mr. Alfonso, have you been enjoying my hospitality? Indeed I have, Mr. Vexern. You've put together one hell of a gathering. But excuse me, I'm going to have a quick word with the CEO of Swordish Petroleum. We'll talk soon. Alfonso gave a brusque wave and walked off. Peter shifted his weight unsteadily. Nice guy. A shitty president, but a nice guy. Was that you in the hedge maze, Peter? What are you talking about? I'll be direct. No, how could you even think that? I'm a married man. You know you can tell me anything. I thought I saw his cheerful expression slip for a moment. Yeah, I know, trust me, it's nothing. Now who wants a drink, beside me, of course? Bought us 2 large glasses of whiskey and we drank them in one go. Throughout the party we drank and drank just like old times. I woke up the next day with a pounding headache and more than a few regrets. My recollections of the evening were hazy, but there was one important detail that kept coming back to me. The red lipstick on Peter's collar. But maybe my memory was playing tricks on me. Governor Felix Bron reports the discovery of Bludish Freedom Front propaganda in most schools that teach in the Bludish language. This highlights the BFF's efforts to recruit and radicalize young people in Bludish majority areas. The government is urged to take immediate action to address the BFF's recruitment strategies and prevent further radicalization of young people. BFS poisons Swordish schools. A burden on the taxpayer. The government's decision to invest in Grooney Rural Development Investment Plan has sparked controversy. Critics argue that such investment will only serve to burden the taxpayer without guaranteeing tangible... shut up. Peter Vecton throws lavish party. This is true. Dresses for a swanky affair in the evening, but the Vice President and the President were nowhere to be seen at the entrance of the huge mansion. Nonetheless, it is worrying that Rain and Vecton are throwing parties and having hidden meetings during the economic recession with so much trouble surrounding our nation. Yes, I'd have rather have not been there at all, if I'm honest. Oh. I don't know, what do you reckon, guy? Does that look like it's leveled out a bit more? I think it could have done. HSU fire investigation suspended. Lack of further evidence from the investigation into the fire that occurred at the Holsworth State University archives has caused the case to be suspended until further notice from the police and SID. Briefing on the status of immigration regulation. Okay. Wow, there's a lot of people in this meeting. We're in the middle of a meeting in the palace about our immigration policy. The ensuing discussion quickly became heated. I don't think so, Mr. Weesey. It just doesn't make any sense to me that a foreign citizen should come before a Swordish citizen in Swordland. Well said. My analysis is also in line with this, especially during the economic recession. We are giving Swordish jobs to migrants from other countries. What about our own people? Immigrants are the reason our economy is not completely unsalvageable. Look at Agnolian immigrants in England. They have revitalized the whole region and in turn boosted the economy of the entire country. Simon can attest to that. Statistically speaking, allowing immigrants to become part of the workforce contributes to our economy, but I agree that the current situation is very nuanced. With that said, we can't just tighten our immigration policy and expect the economy to stay the same. But we need to put our economy and the recession at the forefront. Gentlemen, can we please get back on topic? Right, sorry, Mr. Weesey. As I was just saying before I was interrupted, look at the superpowers. Do you see them closing off their borders? Why do you think their economies are in such good shape? They are in their current state because they welcome immigration and use it to their advantage. I don't know, people. I really don't know. We need to modernize and reach the level of the superpowers. It is proven that immigration helps countries to develop, and we cannot just deport our current immigrants. We need a decision, but before we move on, Mr. President, do you have any questions about the current state of immigration? What is the current legal status of immigrants? Currently, all accepted immigrants are given a work permit on arrival, so that they can work and contribute to the economy of Swordland. There is currently no limit on the number of immigrants accepted, however, the number has remained stable over the past years. Despite the laws, the fact is many immigrants illegally work for corporations. That is the main issue with immigration right now, not the immigration itself. Nonsense! If not for the unlimited amount of immigration, we wouldn't be in this state. How many immigrants live in Swordland? Official numbers show that we have anywhere between 2 to 3 million immigrants residing in Swordland. Even excluding the countless undocumented aliens in our midst, that is a very substantial amount. The primary issue is the strife they cause between less fortunate Swordish citizens and themselves. Including them in the workforce would benefit everyone, including unemployed swords. More taxes means more services. How do they usually arrive here? There are 3 major paths they choose. The first one is the Angland to Agnolia border. The second is the Bergia to Welland border. The third is the Lorraine coast. Okay, down here. Got it. This place, Lorraine. Agnolians are the largest group. It's a light border over there, although recently political fugitives from Valgsland have been crossing the Grey Sea by boat to land on our coast. Politically persecuted Wessex refugees tend to use the dangerous mountain passes at the Welland border. Many of them also have bluish blood. This is significantly increasing the blood populace inside Bergia. Let's move on and see what can be done. Very well. David Weesey opened his dossier stamped with the seal of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Before we make any decision, I have to remind you. During the elections, we promised to keep our immigration laws relaxed, which I think is the right course of action. I disagree. We are supposed to control and reduce the negative effects of immigration, like crime and subversion. I see your point, Iosif, but the economy certainly benefits from more immigration. Internal order, on the other hand, suffers immensely. We should tighten the laws to prevent further chaos. Devitt sighed wearily. Where this is going nowhere. If we decide to tighten, what does that entail? We would have to impose quotas and, connected to that, stricter border control, on top of allowing our economy to take a hit. Surely the well-being of our citizens and our internal security will more than compensate for any downturn in the markets. Keeping our immigration policy relaxed. Aside from keeping us on the path of prosperity, modernization, and continuous improvement, not much. Our current system is good for our era. We also have the capacity. This will allow us to continue protecting investments from foreign countries, which in turn will keep our trade steady. We would be more trustworthy partners. Stability draws money. Stability? What stability? We're already seeing clashes between our people and foreign interlopers. On the contrary, the only way we can achieve stability is through tightening our immigration policy. I'm going to keep it relaxed 100%. We will keep immigration laws relaxed. We will be forced to handle new waves of migrants from Agnolia. Our border posts aren't ready. Not only that, we've just abandoned the native swords who need our support the most. Also, this will bring a new tide of refugees from Welland. Bergia is already a difficult region to manage. I think there might be bigger problems in Bergia, if I'm honest, than just the fact that people are coming over the border. They are not forgotten, our work for them continues. And now they will compete with foreign immigrants just to put food on their tables. Wow. Anything else, Mr. President? Thank you for your contributions. Let's wrap this up. Ministers gathered their documents and rose from their chairs, some with frowns on their faces. I'm looking forward to the upcoming trade talks. Peter and I have visited Stalport and Raklowitz in preparation. I'll be coming along to talk with the economy minister, looking forward to the potential partnership. If we are finished, I need to head off and get the ministry to work on the new policy. Same here, our border units need to be informed and prepared. Keep up the good work. They dispersed. Situations. Order. Streamlined immigration has made significant strides in addressing illegal immigration and streamlining legal immigration processes. The new policy has closed several loopholes that were previously exploited, leading to a reduction in the number of illegal immigrants. Additionally, the streamlined legal immigration processes have made it easier for those who want to immigrate to the country legally to do so. Fantastic. Law and order have been restored throughout the country as the nationwide protests have been quelled thanks to the devoted efforts of the security forces. Government took swift action to address the protesters' concerns and engaged in constructive dialogue with the leaders of the movement. Nice. Relaxed immigration. So does that mean in the worst region in history, we at least no longer have protests making things worse? We still have low literacy rates, lack of healthcare, police forces overburdened, and organized crime. But at least we don't have protests on top of it. Okay, we do have a problem down here in Benfey. I feel like that is going to be something to do with them wanting to sort out their infrastructure. I don't think I, however, can spend money on that. I feel like that has dropped off a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just seeing it slightly different now and again when I move around a little bit, but I don't know. It's still mildly down, so it's the overall net change since the beginning of the episode is 0. And so on that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to leave the episode there. Thank you all very much for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you believe, just like I do, that our country is on the road to greatness. We will eventually have to actually kind of start reaping some of our benefits as opposed to continuously throwing our money out. We have a -8 government budget. And so on that, ladies and gentlemen, as for always, thank you all very much for joining me. As I said, I hope you have enjoyed it, and until we see you again, I hope that you will stay safe, happy, and healthy.